Oh, biggest game in English football. Has been for a while. Has been for a while. Look, take all your Manchester derbies, London derbies, North London, West, take them all, keep them. Liverpool Man City is the game, has been the game for a good couple of years now. And James, despite the scoreline, this one did not disappoint. The expectation was there. Absolutely everything that I think you wanted from a fixture of this nature were there. We didn't necessarily know what was going to happen. I know you and I both took Manchester City to win this one in a pretty high-scoring game. Obviously, Liverpool won in a low-scoring game. Just going into the match, they did look at at Anfield, Liverpool don't really get beaten. They really don't. It was Crystal Palace, right? How long ago was that? That was ages ago. And then since then, it's not really kind of happened. So, going into that, I kind of thought, oh man, maybe James and I were too quick to jump on City's side. I just want to get your initial reactions to the game. Liverpool beating Manchester City 1-0.
I can understand where you're coming from the point of view. Our reaction to it, Jack picked, I think, 4-1? I picked 4-2.
I think I had 3-2.
3-2, something like that. But we both had Manchester City winning for the right reasons of Liverpool ain't playing well.
You had 4-2, I had 3-1.
3-1. So basically, we both had Man City
by
winning.
2. Yeah.
But this is Anfield, and when you look at Pep Guardiola's record, when you look at Man City's record, it isn't great. The one time that they were able to win at Anfield, let's be truthfully honest, Jack, there was no fans in the stadium, and how big of a part the fans play for Liverpool at Anfield. We've seen what was like during the COVID season where they lost 5 straight games at Anfield, which never happens. But the crowd was fantastic, and I think the biggest thing for me was that yes, Liverpool had a lot of injuries, and you could look at that and take it as a negative, but to me it was a positive for Liverpool because Liverpool kind of reverted to what they were. And the biggest thing for me when I look at the game was that Liverpool have been successful for the past 5 years because they've been able to get the best out of Mo Salah. And they went back to that today, and you see the big difference. You're not looking for Darwin Núñez. No. We want to supply and get the best out of Mo Salah, and that's what they did today. Had him playing on the last shoulder, in between the fullback and the centre back, at times even as the forward striker. You had Firmino dropping in there. I felt Jota played well. Not that much quality from the point of view of 1v1, but there was runners there.
Right.
But Mo Salah especially, once he was able to get a full head of steam and go out Manchester City time and time again, he had the opportunity. It was a great save by Ederson. It should have been a corner, but you could see that there was something coming there. Phenomenal from Alisson with the pass, but people think about the finish, but I get it. It was a mistake from Cancelo, but Jack, the turn from Mo Salah.
That's what I'm saying. I want to talk more about how good Salah's turn was as opposed to how bad Cancelo's defending was. Sometimes a player can just do you, and you just need to hold your hands up and go I've been had there, and that's exactly what he did. And James, Salah goes back to what he likes doing, what he's comfortable doing, what he's elite at doing, and he has the best game. You pay him all this money, you do this whole thing. And look, I know Klopp's thought about we need to do things a little differently and we need to, things are becoming a little bit stale. That's fine, and I understand that. But if I had 100 million euros to spend, I'd spend it on a Sadio Mane replacement on that left wing side. I wouldn't, but I would keep players in keeping with the attributes that have made my team so successful. Again, you're at home and, it's a one-off game, and sure, maybe that won't make a big deal, but this could kickstart the rest of your season. You never know what might happen here. So I guess Jurgen Klopp, I'm sure he's listening. Just do what you can do. Do what you know best. Do your best bits, because that's how you know you're going to be successful. The kind of forcing yourself and your team and your squad to be something it's not, I don't think is ever going to get you the level of results that you're looking for. James, we see them revert back to what they were doing, and they've beaten Manchester City.
Jack, to me, listen, you're totally right there. Liverpool, it wasn't a full Liverpool package, but you've seen the certain things that made Liverpool successful during the years, and like the biggest thing was Mo Salah. But Jack, other things that we have to mention, Jack, we've seen the best of Virgil van Dijk again. Oh my days, he was tremendous. And like maybe people mention the fact of, oh, Haaland. He knows that, listen, I'm my absolute best. Not too many strikers in this game can touch me. And to me, like what he was able to do today, he led from the back brilliantly.
But James, again, they revert back to the formation and the style of play that they and that's not just benefiting Mo Salah, that benefits the entire team. There's comfortability, there's familiarity, there's phases of play which become recognizable. As a defender, especially in a possession-dominant team, obviously tough to say against Man City, but playing in a team like that, most of the time you're just reading the game, you're watching the game. You start to see kind of familiar patterns of play because you're in a team that you've been used to playing in for ages. It's no shock to me that we saw the best out of Salah today, the best out of Van Dijk, right? Andy Robertson looked really good too. I'm just saying there were a couple of things where I just kind of think, like, it's staring you in the face. Just go back to what you were doing. Maybe try and get Darwin Nunez. Liverpool should not have to change for Darwin Nunez. Darwin Nunez needs to come in, and if he's that good a player, if he's worth 100 million euros, he should be able to adapt his game to fill the Mane role or to come in and play the Roberto Firmino role. That's what I would say. I don't think they need to do this new, different way of playing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and just hope the players can adjust.
I do think that evolving is the most, but sometimes reverting to what you know is needed in certain games, and like this was a game that was definitely needed. A Manchester City team who rampant, we know what Erling Haaland bring to the table. The fact that Liverpool went back to what they know is able to trouble this Manchester City team was a big plus to them. Another thing you guys have to look at here is that Trent Alexander-Arnold was, to me, fit to play.
Right.
People may say he was on the bench and everything like that, but are you really going to put
James? He came on, right? Like again, if you can come on as a sub, you can probably start the game. Like, let's be clear, this is a Premier League football match against Manchester City. Like, if you're fit, you're fit.
And to me, like, that's a big thing. In like when I look at it, the fact that I think Klopp chose steady James Milner over the best right back in the world. Trent Alexander-Arnold told you where, like, right, and maybe this is just for this game where he knows the Manchester City are going to have the majority of possession. I want my players to be switched on, and James Milner is a bit more alert defensively than a Trent Alexander-Arnold. And
I get like Dele Alli vibes from Trent sometimes, though, mate. No, I do.
Is it, Jack? Is it just the hair?
Oh no, no! I didn't even think of that, really. I mean that from a standpoint of, like, look, you got all the talent in the world. There was a point where we were looking at Dele Alli, we're like, wow, this is Gaza. This is, wow, who is this guy? There was some goals happening. They were getting numbers. It was in this really good Spurs team that were doing bits and bobs, like, and then there's that famous Jose Mourinho interview from All or Nothing, right? What does he say? Like, I blink and I'm 50. Or whatever he says. It's like, I think you will regret. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for this. Don't do it for that. Do it for you. I think you will regret. James, Dele Alli's playing for Fenerbahce in Turkey, right? That shouldn't be happening if he applies himself and does the right thing. Trent needs to be able to face this adversity in whatever form it takes for him personally in his life, and he needs to be able to overcome it, outwork everybody else, and show how talented he is. Because if not, it's just another really talented player who falls by the wayside, and maybe he's a little stubborn or doesn't learn from his mistakes. We can speak on the defensive side. But anyway, it's not a video about Trent Alexander-Arnold before I get too ahead of myself. Jen, I've got two more points I want to bring up. Are Liverpool going to go on a bit of a roll now? Is this the kind of game that the whole squad is unified, the manager's fired up, there's a second wind, a third wind, a fourth wind that propels Liverpool now to a string of wins, and we're talking about them up there with Arsenal and Manchester City and Chelsea?
It depends, because sometimes it's easy to get up for a game against Manchester City.
Right.
It's easy to perform knowing that, we cannot lose in Jack. How big the stakes are with Manchester City and Liverpool over the years, so they knew that they had to perform today. The question is, can they continue that? I've seen too many false storms for Liverpool. oh, it's going to turn around. But to be fair, does Liverpool have quality? Of course they do. Do
Yeah,
we
right.
expect Liverpool to be in a title race scenario? Jack, of course we do. Because Jack, we said it from we said it from the start. When when we were doing our predictions, Liverpool were in the top four
Yeah,
to compete.
absolutely.
No, so at some point they have to go on a run. Will it be now? I don't know, because at the end of the day, it's easy to get up for Manchester City. Can you do it for the rest of the lot? And they have been able to do that before. Can they do it again? Is another question, because we keep on reverting to the same thing. When are they going to go on a run? We thought
Right.
that was going to happen after the 9-0, after the comeback against Ajax. I
Right.
don't know when.
The kind of final thing I wanted to touch on was Man City and the big game, right? And I know a lot of the time you'll see them win big games, and maybe it's in the context of the Premier League where they win a Manchester derby or they beat Spurs or something like that. But in these kind of games where it is like kind of first against second, right? It's the favorite against the second favorite for winning a competition. You know, we talked recently in an Erling Haaland video about, you said to me like, well, Jack, who have you got winning the Champions League? And I said Real Madrid. And, you know, if you break that down, I would probably take the Man City manager. I think I'd take Pep over Carlo at this point if you were making me pick a manager. Starting 11, probably going to take the Man City starting 11 over the Real Madrid one. That's pretty close, I won't lie. But, you know, again, that's probably a choice I'm going to make. But I would still, if you said who's going to win the game, I would still, or win the tournament, I would still pick Real Madrid. And there's that mentality side of the game, which I do still feel like at the elite level is lacking. Now, what I mean by the elite level is in these kind of gotta have it, show your dominance games away at Anfield, we're still seeing that Man City can't really get it done. Their best is usually pacifying it and it being a draw. But when it comes to these big moments, and again, I'm not trying to say the Premier League's not a big thing to win. They dominate the Premier League across the board. But as we get into Europe, James, this game was kind of a window into what I think we're going to see at the knockout stages of the Champions League for this Manchester City team. They're never going to get embarrassed, but I will never back them to win that big game. The moment they get into a final, James, there's no way I'm picking Man City in a Champions League final, a Champions League semi-final. I'm not. I can't.
Jack, there was a moment in the game where Man City score and the goal was ruled out, rightfully so, from a foul
Right.
from Erling Haller on Fabinho. But Guardiola's reaction told you what everything that happened there. His reaction, arms over the air, all that sort of stuff. He lost it because he knew that that's an important moment here. Because now now the goal's disallowed, the crowd's up. Liverpool are a lot more motivated.
Right.
And then we're going to see the switch, which we did see. And as much as you have all this lovely stuff for Manchester City, Jack, there's a different ball game when it comes to these one-off finals where when it is 50-50. Yeah, when it's a thing when you go in against a Real Madrid, for instance, when like you go against a Bayern Munich, for instance, where you're not guaranteed to win.
Yeah.
You know that the moment here or there could change everything. Now that's where Manchester City, that's where we're going to question Manchester City mainly. But at this moment of time, do I believe in this Manchester City team, Jack? I still think that this Premier League is theirs.
Yeah.
I find it hard to look past Manchester City because why? Because they can go away to Newcastle and go 3-1 down and still come back and get a result.
Right.
But in the Champions League, it doesn't guarantee you anything. Erling Haaland doesn't guarantee you a Champions League. If PSG signing Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe don't guarantee you Champions League, what makes you think a player like Erling Haaland is going to guarantee you anything there? That Champions League, as I mentioned, is a whole different ball game because many different variables can come up there. And do Manchester City have the bottle when the crowd is up? And you mentioned the word adversity. Can they face adversity in the face and come back from it? It's still wait to be seen. I'm not saying that they haven't faced adversity because, Jack, listen, when you go 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go in a Premier League game, to win the title, that's adversity there. But on the European stage is a different story, and they've been yet to kind of face that fire as much.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. And I think that's why I will still, at this point, never have true conviction in how great this Manchester City team are, because we've not seen them do it just yet.
Because Jack, as much as we say that, it did feel like a bit of a European style, a European tie
That's what I'm saying.
from
It's
the
kind of
point of
part of,
view of, it's a bit of a late game. It's dark. Crowds up for it. It feels like last 15 minutes. It's a must win,
manager
kind of
gets
like
sent off.
hell there and everywhere. Even the players were up for it. It felt like that sort of cup final type of tie. And listen, take none away from Manchester City,
Oh,
because
for
at
sure.
the end of the day, Jack, they're going to be in the top 5 to win the Champions League.
Absolutely.
They're going to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I say that wink, wink. Also, happy Invincible Day to all the Arsenal fans. Yeah, we did it again. I just had to get that in, Jack.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure all the Arsenal fans are loving it. Everybody else is like, shut the fuck up.
oh, listen,
but
it's crazy.
That's kind of like, feels like where we're at. Like you said, they're never going to get destroyed because they're far too good, but they are going to always feel like they somehow let themselves down a little bit. Really enjoyed the game. I've got to say, it was really, really nice to have that game back. It was nice to see Man City bleed a little bit, just taking a loss. Be interesting to see how they react. Like you say, I think you and I have both agreed we have no doubts about what this team will come back with. I'm not expecting a free fall now for this Manchester City team. They'll probably come out and score 4 or 5 goals in midweek here. Guys, at home, let us know what you thought of the game. Obviously, we're just kind of fresh off it now as well. We're going to come at you here with a Classico reaction too. James has got some thoughts to drop on that game as well. Drop a like on the video if you like what you've seen. Make sure to check that you are subscribed. You may be getting our videos, but you may not be subscribed. So do just double check that. Hit the bell as well. World Cup coming. James and I are going to be on it, and we're very, very excited for that. James, anything else from you, mate?
Guys, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.